On the topic tonight, the power of vision. Everybody say the power of vision. I want to speak to you tonight on this revelation that's been bursting in my body. The power of vision and purpose, and how vision helps you face the future with confidence. We are in Orlando, Florida. We are in Disney World's territory. And it's amazing that this city and its success was built on a rat. Just a mouse. In other words, the power of an idea produced the capital of entertainment in America. And we enjoy the beauty of this city and the tremendous entertainment that is here, and the parks that blow our minds when we see the mystery of the development of an idea in Orlando. But you don't hear about the other stories behind the miracle of Disney World. Mr. Walt Disney was sitting on a bench one day right here in Orlando, and they had just finished one of their rides on the park, and all around him was bush and forest and animals. And one of the workers saw him sitting on the bench just staring out in the bush, and the workers were clipping the grass, and he began to wonder about Mr. Disney. He said, I wonder if he's losing his mind, because he was sitting there just looking out in the bush by himself. And 2 hours passed, and the worker became very concerned. And so he came over and he said, Mr. Disney, excuse me, sir, but are you okay? And Mr. Disney says, yes, I'm fine. And he kept looking without even turning his face. And he said, do you see that mountain? And the young man looked. In Orlando. And he said, sir, there is no mountain. And Walt Disney says, sir, young man, look at that. Isn't that a beautiful mountain? Do you see my mountain? And the man looked again, and he saw trees and bush. And he said, Miss Disney, are you okay? Can I get some help for you? And Walt Disney turned and said to him, son, don't you see my beautiful mountain? And the young man looked again and said, Mr. Disney, I think you need some help. And he went back and called the office clerks, and they came back and they decided they're going to call the psychologist to check him out and get some medical help, because Mr. Disney was losing his mind. He was seeing mountains in Florida. And the young man brought the group with him to check him out, and they said, Mr. Disney, there is no mountain there. And he said, look, don't you all see? Look, there's my mountain. See my mountain? Isn't that beautiful? And they were sure he had lost it. And they said, come back to the office. We will give you a cup of coffee, and you need to rest. And he came back to the office, and he kept looking back saying, there's my mountain. You see my mountain? Look at my mountain. He went back and sat with his engineers and with his architects, and he described the mountain that he saw in Florida. And they drew the mountain and sketched it and created all the designs for it. And a few years passed, and they were about to inaugurate this beautiful mountain that was built on Disney property. He was a dead man by then. He never saw the mountain physically. And on the day when they were about to cut the ribbon to open the ride, they invited all the governor and the mayor and all the dignitaries of the city, and they went to that property not too far from here, and they stood on the podium, and there a young man stood up to introduce Mrs. Disney, who was a widow now, and he said, we are so happy today because we are about to introduce a brand new ride on the Disney property, but we are very sad today because Mr. Disney never saw this. But his widow is here with us today, and we're so proud that she's here, and we're going to ask her to come, and she's going to give a few words of commendation, and then we'll have her cut the ribbon. But we're so sorry that her husband is not here to see this beautiful mountain. Miss Disney walked up to the podium, the story goes, and she walked very slowly, and she held on to the podium for a few minutes, and she looked out at that crowd and the dignitaries, and she, before she gave a speech, she said, "Sir, I would like to correct that young man." She said, "You know, it's amazing. He said, my husband never saw this mountain, but I have to correct him because you are the ones who are finally seeing it." Everybody say vision. Sometimes you see things that make people call you crazy. And I believe this year, God is showing you some things that you must do that you are afraid to announce. And you're afraid to announce them because people are going to think you are losing your mind.